the creatures before they get fed. They're currently in alien terrain, surrounded by millions of the most vicious creatures on the planet. Humans.
Magical beasts terrorize the languages.
Why would I have to wear something like this?
Because your skull is susceptible to breakage under immense force. Don't panic. There's absolutely nothing to worry about.
Thanks for your patience, everybody. How you doing? Well, we want to make sure we get everyone's questions in. So first, I will lay down some of the ground rules of how we're going to handle this. For everyone and anyone who has a question, if you would come up to the microphone, which is to my right, and then start lining up there, we can go ahead and process through any questions you have. But without any other hesitation, let's welcome to the stage, Summer-Glau. It is wonderful having you here with us at the show real quick. As we have people who will come up to the mic for questions, and if you have a question, feel free to come up to the mic. And I'm going to ask that you speak of one thing before your acting career. I did not realize that you were a classically trained ballet dancer, as well as other crafts. So if you could speak to that a little bit, we would love to hear about your first life, I like to say.
Well, yes, I danced since I was a very little girl, and just the other day my husband asked my mom, who sent her to ballet class, and how did she get so serious about it? And I think I went to class with a bunch of other friends for the first time, and absolutely fell in love with it, and got really serious about it when I was 5, and I started dancing full-time with the ballet company when I was 12, and I always thought I'd dance. I had this thought in the back of my mind about acting, and I would see visions of myself acting, but I never really took any theater classes. I was homeschooled because of ballet. So, I would dance all day, and then I would, I also taught gymnasts. We had a junior Olympic gymnast team in San Antonio, and I was their ballet coach. And so I would do that, and then I would come back and dance at night, and just do school sort of in between. And then, of course, I was one of those girls that got hurt. So then I had to have a plan B, and that's how the acting came in. Thank you, God. That it all worked out. But yeah, stay in school because
Understandable. All right, we have a few people up for questions. If you would, feel free to ask one.
Okay, I have to ask about how is it working with Adam Baldwin, because I spent 3 days just peripherally around him, and he's a great guy, but he can be a handful in so many ways. So how is that?
still is, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A tall him.
He is. He was kind of like my set dad, actually. I absolutely loved him and looked up to him quite a bit, and his wife, Amy, was sort of a mother figure to me as well. Firefly was really my second ever job. I did that one episode of Angel, and then from there, Joss kind of thought, maybe I should have her audition for this new show, and I ended up by some miracle getting cast in it. And so when I showed up at that table read the first time, I really didn't know how to do anything, and I needed a lot of nurturing. So Adam would, I tell this story all the time, but it's still true, that Adam would say to me, remember this and enjoy this, because it's not always like this. And of course he was right when he was talking about the family atmosphere and the creativity and the quality of the story and the moment to soak it in. And he would have me over for dinners, and I would go out to eat with his family, and I would go to the kids' plays at their high school in Santa Monica, and they were really, really good to me. And he definitely keeps you on your toes. He's not afraid to tell you the truth, tell you the history.
All right.
Hello.
If you grab the top of the mic and then pull it towards you down.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to touch this.
Yeah. Feel free. Just don't take it back with you to the chair. That'd be weird. But go ahead.
Okay, so hi. I was wondering, because you play like awesome characters, in the Summer Chronicles, Arrow, and of course, Serenity and Firefly. Which was, which one was your favorite character to portray, like out of all those really big roles?
Well, obviously I love River for a multitude of reasons. First of all, because it was so thrilling and exciting to feel like I miraculously became a legit actress, because I went to LA with no training other than I took a course for public speaking, because I was very shy, and being a dancer, I never really had to worry about communicating. I did it through my dancing. And then when I started to think about acting, my mom found this class for me, and it was me and a bunch of adults. I was like 16 at the time, and they were all very shy, and we actually took a class from this theater major from Miami University. She was incredible, and that was the only acting experience I had. So playing River was the most thrilling ride of my life. So in that way, I love River. But another role that's incredibly special to me, and one that was very hard to let go of, was Cameron. I played that role for the longest, and I feel like she changed also quite a bit. And I loved the progression and seeing Josh's vision for where to take this story, and then getting to play the Allison part of that character as well was such a feast for an actor. So I love that one. And then another one of my favorites that many of you probably haven't seen is when I got to do, I did a Hallmark Christmas movie, and I played a Christmas elf. And I think I would have traded in, my career as Summer-Glau to play Christine full time, because I love Summer.
Thank you so much for your question. I'm going to just readjust the mic real quick. What's your question?
I was wondering what type of combat training did you have to go through for Serenity?
Good question. I remember when Josh told me that he decided to make River a weapon. He had just had his first baby, and I had come over and hold him for the first time. and he was writing Serenity, and he told me about this vision, and I was like, "Are you sure?" Of course, I didn't say that because you don't question Joss. You just say, "Yes, sir." But after that, he hired his this stunt coordinator in the crew, and I went for my first day of fight training. And it was like, I felt like it was my first day at ballet class, and Joss came, and two of the producers came, like my parents, and they were like cheering me on, and I went out onto the floor, and the stunt coordinator said, "I just kind of want to see you move," because they knew I was a ballet dancer. And so they tried out some different movement on me, and from what they told me, and I hope I'm saying this right, because obviously I'm not a real martial artist, I just learned what they taught me. They said it was a combination of wushu, kung fu, and kickboxing. And Chad Stahelski, incredible stunt coordinator, he created the technique for me, and he said that, you know, he just wanted to seem like organic movement for me because I was a ballet dancer, and he also wanted to try to create a look that would be believable for a smaller girl to be able to fight these, you know, stunt guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the torture began because I had to work on it for 6 months. Joss wanted me to do the fights from start to finish without having to move the camera because he didn't want it to all look like it was setups. So, in order to do that, I had to do the fights from beginning to end, and you know, I had to build up my stamina, build up my strength. It's a lot of like fast twitch muscles as opposed to ballet where you hold movements for a long time, and everything's very elongated. Instead, you know, when you're doing martial arts, there's a lot of fast twitching where you strike and pull back really fast. And it took me months because I was like a noodle, you know. I was very flexible, but I couldn't, you know, pull it in tight, you know. And so I worked for about 6 months all day and learned the fights like choreography. And they actually let me make contact because since he wasn't moving the camera like you normally do for a fight where I could, you know, look like I'm punching you from far away, I had to actually touch the guys.
Oh, okay.
They loved it. Yeah.
How many times did you actually knock someone clean out?
I mean, you know, I kind of sat down and cried a little bit, but nobody actually knocked me out. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Did you have a follow-up? Thank you. Thank
Sorry,
you.
that was a very long answer.
Great answer. All right.
Hi, so my question is, for your role on Arrow as Isabel Rocha, do you wish that you had gotten more screen time? Because the first episode of the season implied that your character would have a major role in the season when your appearances ended up being rather limited as it went on.
When I saw my first episode, and I only watched it because they were screening it at lunch, and I'm just going to tell you all the truth. I was sitting in the trailer with during lunch, and they were screening the first episode in the lunchroom, and I was on the phone with my mom, and this often happens. I'm always talking about my mom made me do it, but my mom said that I needed to go into the lunchroom and watch the episode with my castmates, you know, to be a good team player and be a good sport. So I went in and I watched it, and I hated it. I hated what I did, and then I went back to the trailer and I cried a little bit, and I told my mom, "You shouldn't have made me do that." But I was so uncomfortable with this character because it was so different from anything that I'd done before, you know, playing this businesswoman and playing someone confident and elegant and grown up, and I thought, I don't know, I'm not connecting with it yet. I've got to figure out how to really get in there, and then I started to enjoy it more and more, and I was really getting into it, and then they turned her into Ravager, and then I was like, bingo, finally, you know, I can do this, and then they kept killing me, and finally, you know what happened. But that's the truth about how I felt about that character.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I came in a little late, so I don't know if anyone got to ask you about your appearance on The Big Bang Theory.
No?
No? I was wondering if you had any stories about really awkward interactions with your fans.
Okay, are we counting this one right now? I'm just wondering.
I love you.
Perfect timing. See, you should be on Big Bang. No, whenever people ask me this, I say that my interactions with anybody who's appreciated my work are kind of sacred to me, so I never, no matter what happens, and sometimes things do happen, I keep it to myself because, you know, it's such a, it's such a blessing, and I know when I've had a few fan interactions myself that have probably been pretty embarrassing for me, and I've only had one time where somebody was not nice to me. That I went up to them and stuff just starts coming out. You know, it's sort of like an out of body experience, and you walk away and either you feel uplifted or you feel kind of disappointed. So I'm grateful for any time that somebody comes up and says that they like something that I did. And I've almost always enjoyed it, except, you know, for that time I had to file a restraining order. But, yeah, other than that, yeah, it's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I would just like to say welcome back to Hawaii.
Thank you.
And I was just curious, since Firefly and Serenity ended, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of you and your former cast members have gotten involved in a lot of DC animated films. Like, let's see, Adam portrayed Superman in one. I think Nathan was Green Lantern in another. You, of course, were Kara Zor-El in one of the animated films, and you were amazing.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, has there been any plans or talks of maybe doing like a animated Justice League movie with all of the old Firefly actors? As various DC heroes at some
Let's
point?
talk now. I like that. That would be, I think that we have a really diverse group of energies and voices and qualities that could really make a good one. But I don't, you know, you're the first one to come up with it, so just write that thing and we'll show up.
I hope it happens.
Thank you.
Aloha. Do you ever think about holding a major role as a ballet, doing ballet again? And what does ballet hold in your current life?
Oh, well, I did for years. Joss was trying to write a ballet for us to do, and I would have loved to. Things just kept happening, and we never actually got around to making it. But I've had anybody who's a dancer probably understands this, that you kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. And it's one of the reasons why I chose to transition permanently into acting. Because with ballet, you go into the studio and you stand in front of a mirror all day and you look for your mistakes and you look for your flaws. And it's an addiction, and it's beautiful, and it's transcendent, and there's music, and it's also performance. But you have to be very strong to be able to do it, and you have to be the right kind of person. And for me, there were certain things that I just couldn't get past, and I had certain things about the way my body's built that just weren't perfectly suited to being a ballet dancer, and so it was a very emotional push and pull for me. And so when I became an actor, I thought, okay, I'm free from it. I'm moving on. But throughout my career, I kept coming back and ending up dancing, and like I did for Joss, and then I did for Terminator, and you realize that it's who you are. And over the years, I've gone back and I've been able to take class, and now that I've had a baby, the love that I have for ballet is coming back, and I'm wanting to share it with her. And it's also kind of it's complicated for me because part of me wants her to dance, but part of me also doesn't want her to have some of the hang-ups that I have. But I took her into the ballet studio the other day because my favorite Mexican restaurant is next door. So I took her to get food, and then they had a class, so I slipped in there and I stood there and held her and watched the class for a while, and I thought, it's time for me to go back too. I want to get back into class, and who knows? I think it could really be good for me. And I think if there was ever a project where I could dance, it would really push me in the way that I worked for the martial arts, for Serenity, to really get back in shape and to kind of get over some of those hang-ups that I have. So again, I'm going on and on. I'm sorry, but yeah.
I was going to have you continue to go on and on because I was curious, because dance for a lot of people is such an important part of their lives. And I know you're speaking of ballet. Were there any other disciplines that you had a passion for, or still have a passion for? Okay.
Yes, except for jazz class. I remember I would always try to skip out of jazz class, and they would pull me. They would find out on my card that I hadn't shown up, and I would get in trouble, and because I was on scholarship, and so you have to actually attend every class. But I was so geeky that it was embarrassing for me to try to do the cool moves because I was a ballerina, and but I loved tap, and I also did. I did it all. I did modern. I did all different kinds of folk dancing. I did flamenco dancing because I'm from San Antonio, and during the summers I would go dance with Ballet Folklorico, and I loved the flamenco dancing. And then when I moved to LA, I actually, until I got enough work to just be an actress, I was still a dancer, and I did ballroom dancing.
Oh.
So I did all the different ballroom dances, and it was sort of like we would get hired to dance at weddings or get hired to dance at corporate events, and so we would waltz with the businessmen or whatever, and I loved it. It was amazing. It's just I ate potato soup every day for a year until I finally made some money. So it's hard. It's it's just getting by, but I had a lot of fun. I look back at that time with fondness.
All right, well, let's move to the next question.
Thank you.
Hi, how's it going? One of the questions I had was, recently I found out that you had done a pilot for a series called Lock and Key.
Lock and Key?
Lock and Key, the pilot, yeah. And I mean, I've read through the series, Joe Hill, great writer. One of the things I was wondering is if you felt kind of typecasted after being put in Firefly. I mean, because you're totally badass. But I mean, it seems like all the other roles that you've taken on have been they're really either subdued and then all of a sudden turns into the breakout hero almost. Were there any kind of roles or any parts that you're kind of looking at that were kind of a departure from that?
Well, you do naturally get typecast in this line of work, and there were times where there were some roles that I didn't take simply because maybe it was too fresh, maybe I had just done a character like that and I felt like I needed to move in another direction. But really, when I look back, I don't really feel like I played the same role over and over again, but I do feel that I played
some pretty extreme characters.
Right.
I never really played, like, I didn't get cast on the OC or, you know, I never played, you know, I never played a high school girl or you know, the girlfriend. I haven't been cast in a romantic comedy like I might enjoy, but I felt really blessed to get to have some exciting, complicated, unusual, quirky roles, and so in that way, maybe I've done that over and over. But you know, I do it. I think I follow. I know when I read a role if I want to play it, if I think I can do it justice. And so that, and I always just go by story. If it's a story that I want to be a part of, that's what I go for. And you just kind of know, you get that instinct when you're an actor. You know if it's going to be a fit for you. So when I look back, that's why I chose what I did.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good. Microphone adjustments. You'd think after standing in this line I could phrase this properly. Now that we've had one half of the awkward fan question, do you have any stories you'd be willing to share about your first time meeting somebody that like inspired you, or an actor you really liked, or did work you really loved, and was just like super nervous about talking to them, and what was that like for you? Not to make this hard, or no pressure.
I believe it was in Orlando at a convention, and I think we were walking back from photo ops, and this was I think I was with Jewel and Sean. Maybe Marina was there too. We were walking back from doing photo ops, and I ran into Marina Sirtis from Star Trek: The Next Generation, and then I saw her, and it felt weird, and then I looked past her and I see Brent Spiner, and I looked past and I see the whole cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I started to cry, and I don't know what I said. I don't know what I said, but and they were so kind to me, because that was my show when I was a little girl. I was scared to sleep on my own bed, and so, but every night my dad would go through the motions of like making me go into my bed and lay down, and I'd sneak in there and ask if I could watch it with them. And so I was in love with Marina Sirtis. I thought she was so beautiful and so heroic and sensitive, and so when I saw them, it was the biggest fan moment I've ever had, and they all took a picture with me, and I treasure it. And that's probably the most special one I can remember.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Summer.
So your best known roles are for very strong, powerful, badass female characters, and I was just wondering if you would consider yourself a feminist role model, and if so, why or why not?
Thank you. Well, I guess that wouldn't be up to me. I guess it would be up. It's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. If I'm a role model, and there's so many different expressions of feminism, and I think I'm one of 3 girls. I'm the oldest sister, and I think all 3 of us would consider ourselves empowered women, but we're completely different. And the ways that we express our independence and our strength and our freedom is different, and we have discussions about it. So this is an interesting question that you asked me, because the things that make me feel empowered are different, maybe from my sisters, and the things that are most important to us are different. But
I would say that throughout my career, I've read a lot of material that has made me feel demeaned, and I just can't do it. And I can't do it because I had this reaction where I'm like, I don't want my family to see me doing that. And I think that's it's partly because we were raised that way, and they really shaped who I am as an artist as well. So I've always tried to choose roles that make me feel good in being a woman. And it doesn't mean that you always have to be the one who saves the day. You don't have to be the one who is strong. You could be the one who's damaged. You could be the one who's weak or who's shy. But it's in the way that it's written. It's in the way that the story's told that can make you feel empowered. I guess, does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
You really are. I think you're doing exactly what she's asking you.
But you know, there's some films where the girl just feels like she's the accessory, or she feels like she's the B plot, or you know, that's when you're not being empowered, I think. And when you're not the hero is when, you know, and Hollywood can do that. So I've been really lucky, and I met Joss early on in my career, and he's such a champion for women and finds women so compelling and interesting. The way that he writes for women is complex and full-bodied, and so yeah, I guess that's the best. Thank you.
Just to follow up real quick, it's interesting hearing you talk about this. It almost sounds as if, as you look at the body of work you want to produce, you not only look at how you connect with the role, but how it'll even imprint what you've done.
I do. I think that's you know, at its best, that's what you want from being an actor. You are an artist in your heart, and you want to tell a story that is going to leave a lasting impression. And sometimes, you know, we all take jobs for different reasons, but I absolutely, every time I read something, I'm already envisioning, I'm envisioning the viewer. You know, they're a part of the process. So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, two things. One is if you could play Serenity or Dollhouse again, which one would you play again? And by the way, happy birthday from last week.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, I had a lot of fun doing Dollhouse until Amy shot me.
Yeah, that was the sad part.
So basically, it's too dangerous to go back there. And you know, with Serenity, I feel like we did get a chance to pick up a story and really make peace with telling the story, but at the same time, there's just so much more that those characters could have done. And I think that each one could have had their own story, and that's just the way they were written. They're really, really well written, and so I'd love to go back and see what's happening next with River and the crew.
Hopefully we get lucky.
I hope so too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, aloha. I'm a big Hawaii Five-O fan, and I saw that episode that you were in season 3, the martial artist and the Lua warrior. So I was just curious, what was it like working with the with the crew and the cast? And because everyone, the crew, the cast, they talk about, oh, how different here and everyone's so awesome here. So what was it like? What was your story with that role?
I actually married someone on the crew. I had some fun. I liked it. Yes, it's a funny story because I was sent the script, but it was over the Christmas holiday, and I saw that they wanted the character to do martial arts. And again, I was standing in the kitchen with my mom, and I was like, Mama, I just don't want to go do this because they want martial arts, and I haven't had enough time to train, and it's all happening too fast. And she was like, come on, Summer, you know, it's Hawaii, and you might meet somebody. And I was like, oh, that's just ridiculous. Don't say that, Mama. So then I showed up for my first day of work, and my husband was there working, and he's the one who, you know, they drive you to set, and he opened the door for me, and I looked at him, he looked at me, and was like, and it's magical. We got engaged 3 months after we met, and now we have a baby, and you know, he moved to LA because we did long distance for a while, and then he ended up moving, and now this is our first time back with a baby. We brought the whole family, so this has been magical.
Also, you know, you talked about ballet. What's your martial arts training? Because yeah, you are a badass in that episode. So.
Oh, thank you. I tried. You know,
that was a great scene. Yeah.
My stunt double for that episode was a stunt double that I worked with a lot in LA, Tree, and she was awesome. We had so much fun. I did not get to train for very long at all to do, like I said, it was really fast because of episodic, you don't have much time to train at all. And then I broke my toe in rehearsal. So yeah, I had to do the fights with the broken toe, and I don't really know. For that one, I really didn't get to train much. I just had to kind of rely on my muscle memory and adrenaline. But like I said before, I believe in, if you're a martial artist, forgive me because I don't know for sure if I'm getting this right, but when I trained for Serenity, I did wushu, kung fu, and kickboxing. And I remember, if I remember correctly, the wushu was the hardest for me because I remember just having to do a lot of spinning and lunging to the ground, and then spinning back up and kicking. It was a lot of ups and downs, and I had to really, really work on my lower body strength. And what was easiest for me was the sword work because I felt like the most like ballet.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We're at our 5-minute mark, so we can have just one question from each person, and we'll try to get you through.
Well, what's the most uncomfortable costume you've had to wear in your career so far?
Ravager. Those, they weren't leather, they were pleather. They were pleather pants, and they were so tight that Val, my husband was visiting, I would have to get them most of the way on, and then he would have to lift me up off the ground and like shimmy me. And then put suspenders on like this to keep them up. And then you know, it had the whole vest and the whole thing, and then the headpiece, you know, you had to shimmy that on. And I would just take aspirins as I was working so that at the end of the night my headache wouldn't be too bad. But it worked for the character because when I put it on, I automatically was, ah!
You're a really big inspiration for me growing up, and you inspired me to dance, and I really appreciate that, and I love you in everything you've ever done. This is a dance-related question. What's your favorite ballet?
Well, you know, my favorite ballet growing up was Giselle. And I never got to dance Giselle in real life because not many people will, it's very difficult to put on full-length ballets in the States because people, you know, they want it to be, it's easier to do a mixed rep where everything is kind of exciting and interesting and it's kind of moves faster. To tell a story ballet it's unusual. It's more unusual. And I never, in my time as a dancer, was able to dance Giselle, and then, of course, I ended up sneaking into the callbacks for Angel and getting cast in Angel, my first ever job. And Joss let me dance Giselle. And he enjoyed shooting ballet so much, and this is so rare, that he had a reshoot day to add more ballet to the episode. And I'll never forget that, how exciting that was for me. And now looking back, I love the Nutcracker, because I danced it every year since I was a little girl, and I played every role except for the boys' roles, and it's still so special to me. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I just came up with a burning question. Like Dollhouse, I think they kind of early on kind of knew that they were kind of like get rid of it. And your character, I think Bennett came in a little bit later, in second, like just really like later on. Was your character intended to be in the series to begin with, or they just wrote it in, like for you, or did you already, or you already casted for it? Can you tell me a little bit about that, your character?
I'm not positive about that. I don't know. With Joss, I think that he does. He does have a vision for where he wants the story to go. Further than what he'll tell us. He's very, very secretive about his plans for the show. I don't think that Bennett was one of the original characters that he had in mind. But that would be a question you have to ask him.
Oh, okay. So how did you get in?
He just, he likes to have his actors come back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Lovely to speak with you in person. Going back to your comment about your relationship with Adam Baldwin, how did you like, as River, beating him up all the time? Because, Jane getting beat up by 90-pound girls is never going to get old.
No, never got old. I loved it, except for that time when I had to shove that dish into, his area, because I was really worried. It was hard, but he told me, he kept telling me, do not be shy. So, he's great. He's very great.
And this will be our last question.
Hi, Summer, how's it going?
Hi.
I just thought of this while I was listening to you talk about martial arts and sword fighting and ballet. Assassin's Creed has strong female roles in it. Would you ever consider being an assassin or a Templar in an Assassin's Creed movie if the story was good? Because Ubisoft does really good stories. They just don't usually translate well to movies.
Tell me about it. I don't know what,
it's basically they're assassins. There's this technology called the Animus, where people in the future relive the past memories of their ancestors, which are assassins. There's this long-standing war between Templars and assassins. Templars feel that people should be controlled and do things certain ways. Assassins think of freedom, so they like choice, and there's this conflict, but they all have backstories. They were previously not assassins. In the past, they were actually regular people before, but tragedy and things happened, led them to become assassins.
Sounds really good.
The movie comes out December 22nd, 21st?
So.
And Michael Fassbender is an assassin in it. So.
Oh.
Yeah, you'd be good in it because it's a very interesting character.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to check it out. I'm not familiar with the story.
If you wanted to really check it out, it's actually a video game series. Yeah, that you can just kind of.
Oh, so that's where they got
the history is
story
rich.
from.
You have got a really detailed story to it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that
So if you find out her agent's address and just mail her every copy of every game on every system, because you don't know what she has. I'm pretty sure she might touch it.
All right.
Thank you.
This was such a treat. I knew you were amazing, but now you are now stratosphere for me.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. All right, guys, let's go ahead and give them an applause.